Perhaps you've always been interested in mental health and always wondered what mental health really is, or even what happiness is. We all know the feeling of being happy, but oftentimes it's very elusive to figure out how to get happiness. Um, and and as we navigate through life, we see there's so much complexity in our world and in our relationships, and in what we could potentially do. And so often we get and hear from folks um, these sort of seemingly easy one-liners about what we need to do to make us happy, or what would make us mentally healthy, or what could potentially help us overcome challenging emotions and triggering situations where we feel like we are automatically sort of driven by our emotions and have trouble gaining perspective, right? So the world is full of spiritual quips, you might say, and psychological tips and hacks for mental health. We've seen in modern neuroscience even so much evidence has been gathered for specific tips and specific hacks. But what's so often missing is a unified vision of human satisfaction, human nature, a vision for what happiness even is, or what the cause of happiness is. We know some aspects of it. We know it means, having a reasonable quality of life and a very sort of piecemeal approach. But if you're like me, I'm very curious to know what it all means. What is the meaning of life? How should I look at my life as a whole? Not just piecemeal ideas about what makes us happy, or even worse, uh, a a psychological counselor that just sort of sits and listens but doesn't really say anything. If you're a person who's looking for answers to some of life's deeper and more meaningful questions about happiness and about mental health, then that is what the 2,300 year journey of um, psychology was really, until about 135 years ago. Around 135 years ago, modern psychologists threw out the classical model for happiness and mental wellness, and they replaced it with some, wonderful innovations and some, great new ideas. You might say that Freudian psychology was in some ways the opposite of the model that for mental health and happiness that pre-existed it, and modern psychology has provided a lot. And modern neuroscience has provided a lot. But if you are like me, you recognize that it doesn't really provide answers to some of life's deeper questions, and also it doesn't really offer a vision of human happiness. And so that's where I started um, in seeking out the what did people think about mental health before the 1870s, and the answer to that is a very rich and 2,300-year-old tradition that really um, is quite comprehensive and answers many basic questions that I always had since I was a very young child. And so this course in virtue psychology is a map to the time-tested approach to human flourishing that was developed really from time immemorial, but really written down by the Greeks and then expanded upon by various civilizations throughout time. And I say it preexisted the Greeks because it was a common sort of vision or philosophy of happiness and health that really pervaded all of the Silk Road cultures from Greece all the way through to India. And so it offers a sort of seamless model with some of the other programs and courses at Joyful Belly in Ayurveda. The virtue psychology model is the mental health equivalent of what Ayurveda offers to the body, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit. My name is John Immel. I'm the director of Joyful Belly, and also um, the I'll be the lead presenter in the virtue psychology course. So I asked the various students in the virtue psychology course what they were interested in this course, and I think that provides some good reflection for what the course is about. So this from one of our students: I want a course that provokes philosophical thought, reflection, introspection into why we do the things we do, why our feelings and emotions may steer us towards or away from total happiness and peace. And why is it that one person can easily find peace and happiness while others remain stuck in their turmoil? So I think this student sort of echoes my own, search for answers. And I've been a clinician for 20 years, and my clients frequently ask me questions about their mental and emotional life. And it's wonderfully satisfying to have answers to give that are deep and rooted. So from another student: I want practical, time-tested tools for happiness and a roadmap for emotional satisfaction and spiritual improvement, not endless talking about problems that have no real solution. And if you have spent time in modern therapy, there are situations where I think modern therapy can offer a lot, and I don't want to knock it, but sometimes it also feels like talk therapy is just an endless conversation and without any real answers. From the student: I help my clients through addiction, trauma, and neurodivergence. Relationship and emotional intelligence are very important to me, and I feel this course will help deepen my awareness and give me insights into my clients' natures so I can bring out their strengths and minimize areas of weakness and struggle. So what is the virtue psychology course? It's a 1-year comprehensive program. It's entirely online, no travel required. Each week, we'll give you a presentation on a major aspect of human nature, and we will present that alongside with uh, the sort of practical application for assessing and um, and fixing and restoring human flourishing in that area. Each week, we'll have practical active learning exercises and also include buddy assessments, in-class consultations, and also in the course, outside client consultations. And the goal of this course is that you are equipped to become a character strength coach to guide your clients towards happiness and excellence. The course has a special focus on high-level functioning, trauma recovery and addictions, and relationship harmony. And so this is, I think the classical model does very well in these areas of dealing with difficult emotions that arise and how to gain perspective on them, and also how to um, heal them and restore a sort of natural temperance. All right, so I'm going to go to the course page here and review some of the main ideas in the program, and then we'll go back to some of the format. All right. So the main content of the program and curriculum will start. The course will start with a vision of human happiness and discussing what that is. What is it that causes happiness? What are we doing when we say we are enjoying something, right? It turns out that we've all experienced joy and we've all experienced happiness, but what is it that we are actually doing, and how can we do that more often when we enjoy something? I could say that I'm enjoying a delicious piece of chocolate or the smell of a beautiful rose, but what is actually happening when I'm doing that? And how can I remember to do that? That is a key thing, and it's not immediately obvious. If you have an answer to that question, feel free to put it in the chat. What is it that you are doing when you enjoy something? Right? It seems like it's almost seems like a very obvious question, but it turns out that it is not obvious. And once you know what it truly is, it is much easier to do it better. And so that's the kind of Tati says focusing on the moment that you're in. And that is and that's important. Actually, that's an important part of enjoyment, but it could be a terrible moment, right? It could be, there are, and when you say focus on the moment, what does that actually even mean? Like what part of the moment? Not certainly not focusing on the clock, right? Um, or on any particular thought that happens to be in our mind, right? And Helena says that joy is satisfying the cravings of the senses. And that is a great answer as well, that we are somehow satisfying cravings. But we also know that that we don't particularly get joy from just satisfying any old craving that we have, right? That if we lived our life from a place of our cravings, we'd be constantly sort of thrown about emotionally and have no real ground. So it can't just be cravings, because cravings sort of keep us constantly in motion and busy, so to speak. Right? But these answers aren't wrong, right? Focusing on the moment we're in and satisfying the cravings of the senses, these are essential to what happens when we are doing the act of enjoyment and finding the cause of happiness. But there's more to this story, and the it's very exciting to know what the rest of the story is. So once you know the answer to that, you can take steps to sort of point yourself in the right direction. We can't guarantee that the outcomes will be good of the things that we do, but we can certainly point ourselves in the right direction. It's very easy, if we don't really understand what happiness is, to be distracted. And distraction can happen in two ways. We can be distracted by things that are very good, and we can also be hyper vigilant against things that are very harmful. And each of us has a tendency to get um, preoccupied in very I would say in five different ways. There are sort of five very distracting goods, and individuals tend to get distracted by one of those. And that you can live your whole life without really even recognizing which very good thing constantly distracts you from the whole, right? And the same with very harmful things. You can find you can see that people live their entire lives hyper vigilant against some terrible thing that they are concerned and worried about, and never really finding any freedom to enjoy as a result. And so, in this module on happiness and unhappiness, in addition to talking about what happiness is and how do we actually enjoy things, we'll also discuss what distracts us from the whole, and both the five very good things that distract us, and six very harmful categories of things that we tend to be hyper vigilant against. And so knowing that, we can um, free ourselves from that and not get caught in a sort of nook and cranny, you might say, and miss the big picture. In this module on happiness, we'll also discuss some really basic things about the mind and the human soul. I'll say I won't give a definition of soul here, but suffice it to say that that in defining what I mean by the soul, I won't be defining that in a religious context in any way, but in a sort of what can be known about the human mind and the human soul through through purely rational inquiry, like through pure reasoning. In other words, I'm not presenting a theology in the course so much as a very basic and insightful answers to these questions that are the fruit of a 2,300-year-old study, and these answers um, adopted by theologians as well, right? So this it is not that what we discover will be non-theological, but just not particularly um, it's not revelation or biblical revelation, you might say. All right, so the first module will be on happiness and unhappiness, and answering very basic but deep questions about our journey towards happiness. The second module in the course will discuss the passions, emotions, and instincts. Now, this is also an important question to ask all of you. What are the passions? Not the particular passions. They're love, hate, desire, avoidance, pleasure, and sadness. We can go through this list, but just more deeply, what is a passion? How do we understand the passions? What is the role of the passions in your life? And by passions, I mean emotions and instincts. If anyone wants to jump in on that, on the answer to that question, is what is the role of passion in our lives? What is a passion? And so passions are our emotional reactions to our circumstances. And our passions can be invigorating, as in a person who's in the zone and sort of in that, highly attentive, deep space of creativity that we all know and associate with passion. But also passions can be the can lead us in a very different direction if it's not something that we love, but but something that is disturbing us, it can really put us off kilter. Roxanne says that passions are feelings and energies that excite us and that drive us towards greatness or lead us away from balance. And Roxanne, that is very true. Is what are the things that excite us? That's the question of happiness and unhappiness, and and things that the five sort of distracting, very good things, and six distracting, harmful things. Those are the things that excite us. And when we're in a state of that excitation, then the passions are active within us, and the passions can be motivating and drive us, or they can really undermine us because we're powerless when they come up, right? We've all experienced being angry and out of control in our anger and causing damage to ourselves or to our relationships. And so passions are the sort of underlying forces that lead us to behave lead us to behave in a sort of instinctual way, and then can cause lots of trouble and can also be wonderful and uplifting. Right? Lydia says there, the energy that arises up from our belief, from our nature to catalyze action. And that's interesting, Lydia, because when you say belief, you're talking about the intellect. And when you say from our nature, you're talking about both the body and the intellect, right? And so there's this sort of physical component to the passions that they sort of engage the mind and the heart and the gut in this intense way. But also the our beliefs can excite the passions. They don't just come from our instincts, but they also come from our decisions, and then the passions, sort of rise up from the decisions that we make in our life. And these are two very different roots of the passions, and both to and good to mention them both. If you look on this list here of passions, we see there are 11 passions. And of these passions, there are the passions of desire, and then there are the passions of irritation. And those are two different kinds of passions in this list of 11. And within those, there are 5 pairs of opposites, as in love, hate, desire, and avoidance, pleasure and sad, or joy and sadness, hope and despair, courage and fear. There are 5 pairs of opposites there, and one that sort of stands alone, which is anger. Very interesting. So we see this is not just a list of 11, but there's like structure to it. 2 main categories, 5 pairs of opposites, and also there's an order to these. Actually, love comes first in the passions and is the root of all passions, which is very interesting because normally we think of love and hate as opposites, not hate as coming from love, right? Or having its root in love. That is surprising, but it's true. We only hate something when we are trying to protect what we love. And so there's always a lot of, talk out there, and you see it even in politics. Again, these spiritual one-liners that say, be a lover, not a hater. And then, one side gets very righteous about the other side and what they should exactly love or exactly hate. But the fact is that even the haters are hating from a position of love. And that is very interesting. They're protecting something. And so we can't solve hatred in the world until we know what that hater, you might say, is trying to protect. And we can do that analysis similarly for all of the passions. We know what love is, but can we talk about in a real comprehensive way about it? Do we know the 2 kinds of love? Love is also a virtue, but here's a passion. And passions are not always good, as I said before. So when is love not good? Anger is often seen as something that we want to get rid of. But when is anger good? When is anger actually more gentle than not being angry? Each of these topics, the topic of hope, which it was a I can tell you that just from a personal experience, that after um, studying in a deep way, the topic of hope, that I had an incredible personal healing from that. And I always knew what hope was, and I could give you a 10-minute spiel on hope, but I couldn't give you a 3-hour presentation on hope. But the 2,300-year-old tradition that studies this concept of hope really can talk about it, not just for 3 hours, but really go into all the different nuances. And those nuances can help individuals who are lost and have no hope, who are lost in despair, or who hope to excess in a naive sort of way. Lydia writes, "Re love hate. I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said that I will never do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there." Mother Teresa. Nice. And Tina writes, "There is anger that motivates positive change in the world." Roxanne wrote, "Inward," but I'm not sure anymore. It was too long ago. I can't remember what you were uh, referring to. Types of love. Yeah. So there's inward love and there's external love. There's the virtue of love, which is called caritas or charity, and then there's love as the passion, which is amor. There's love of friendship, love of desire. The Greeks had three words of for love, also agape. There's the and then there is the effects of love on the person, both good and bad. Love, of course, is a particularly deep topic, but all of these, desire, joy, hate, avoidance, pain and sadness, despair is a huge mental health topic. Fear and anxiety, huge mental health topic. But also in even in daring, we can find a lot of fruit. A person with a gambling addiction, for example, has an excess of this passion. And we know many people who gamble, and not just at casinos, right? But gamble with many things and in many ways in their life. With in their, not just in their financial life, but in relationships and in many different ways. Right? Lydia differentiates between universal love and personal love. In the module on the virtues, we will discuss the characters and qualities of mental excellence and how to get there. So one could have a deficiency in any virtue or an excess in the virtue, and so that quality becomes distempered, right? We could say an excess in fortitude is daring, right? Is the passion of daring, and a deficiency of fortitude is the passion of fear. But what is fortitude itself? It is a measure of courage and a measure of hope, we might say. Fortitude is happiness in the face of difficulty. But we often have the experience of not feeling strong. Fortitude is strength, but often we feel a lack of strength. How can we understand what strength is and how to have it so that we have the strength to overcome addiction, for example? And that's another thing that we all have, right? We all have traumas, we all have addictions, our clients have them, and we need to say something about it. For our relationships to be happy and for our clients' relationships to be happy, we need to be able to strengthen our clients, to temper them, to give them something that they can have faith in, confidence in, to give them hope, to help them make good decisions, prudence, and justice. Now, these virtues themselves have a structure. They're not, again, there's 7 major virtues. They're not just a list. Prudence means knowing what to do. Justice is actually doing it. And fortitude is doing it when it's difficult. And temperance is not doing something that you really want to do on some basic level. There's no hope without faith. We have to put our hope in something. So if we want hope, but we don't really believe in anything, it's very difficult to have hope. And if we don't have hope, how is self-sacrifice possible? True love, the deeper kind of love, the love that truly creates happiness, is an act of self-sacrifice and charity. How is it possible for us to make that self-sacrifice, which is so necessary for any meaningful relationship, if we don't have a source of hope that we are confident in? And so we see that these virtues are not just individual qualities, but that they have a sort of inner relationships between them. That there's an inner structure, and from that inner structure, we can see how mental health sort of degenerates from a root cause to an effect, and that ability to peel back the layers of an onion to its roots, right, or to the core, not only helps us heal clients, but even just it helps us to see our clients, right, for who they really are. If you can more easily wind back and peel the layers of protection around a person's, mind, then then you can know them and help them, and that is a source of great satisfaction. And so, on a simple level, in the course, I'll be presenting a model of happiness and unhappiness, great goods and distracting, great but nevertheless distracting goods that we need to keep in perspective, and harmful things. Also, a understanding of human nature, from the mind and the soul, reason and the will. The will is our decision-making organ. So that's the first thing that we've got to get right, is how do we heal the decision-making organ? And so there is no mental health without a healthy will, and you can say that that mental disorder is, in the end, a disorder of the will that leads us to choices that do not, serve us. And discussion of the good, the true, and the beautiful, so that we can be oriented in reality towards um, towards what is what is praiseworthy, and finally, an understanding of medieval cosmology itself. That what is it that uh, how is it that how does the world work, so to speak, is another deep question. Like, what is the meaning of life? How does the world work? Is another deep question. And our answer to that question determines whether we meet the world from a place of cynicism or from a place of faith, hope, and love. And that ends up being key to to our ability to heal and coach our clients towards happiness, and also our own happiness. All right, so so we're looking into dive into the aspects of human nature in this course, and the fruit of it is high level functioning. Um, by trauma recovery and addictions, I mean quite simply nothing other than finding emotional peace, right? That we are not so easily triggered, but have a solid, but walk on in a sort of solid way through our life. That can help us, of course, with personal growth, professional development, satisfying relationships, and even parenting, raising happy kids, right? Whatever we want to use it for. We want to know what attracts and repels human nature. We want to know how people become preoccupied and hypervigilant. We want to know the nature of emotions and reactions. Um, and so all of that together comes to form what really was a 2,300 year model and vision for for the human soul. And this covers perspectives from the Greek tradition all the way through its development in the Middle Ages. The course is based in the writings of Aristotle, St. Thomas Aquinas, modern virtue experts, it's including a 20th century uh, uh, a 20th century author, Joseph Pieper, and many others. The goal is to sort of give them eurekas, the main eureka moments, those aha moments from 2,300 years of spiritual insight, starting from the Greeks and going all the way through the Christian Middle Ages tradition, and relating that also to the Eastern tradition of Ayurveda. How is it that Ayurveda and the virtues are really the same model, and we can see that the passions are nothing less than the gunas of the mind, and uh, so we look at Ayurveda looks at the qualities of the body, heat and cold, heavy and light, sharp and dull. Those are the qualities of the body, bodily health that Ayurveda looks at. And the gunas and the virtues are the qualities of the mind. And they go hand in hand. We want to assess the pairs of opposites in the body, the main qualities of the body are pairs of opposites, hot and cold, and the main qualities of the mind are qualities like love and hate. So very similar tradition. The Greek medicine tradition to the body is very similar to Ayurveda, and in fact, there's many word for word equivalent sentences between the Charaka Samhita, Ayurveda's main classical text, and the Greek medical texts. And right alongside the Greek medical text is the theory of virtue psychology, which is the same the kind of philosophy is called Aristotelian realism, which is the root of Ayurveda, called Dravya Guna Shastra in Sanskrit, but Aristotelian realism in to the Greeks, and the virtue mental health model comes right from that. I'll say it again, that we are told so often that God, the mind, and the heart are just mysteries, and that nothing in particular about happiness can be known, right? That it's all just a sort of mystery. And yes, we all know that that the deepest questions of life are in the end beyond comprehension, that we can't understand every aspect of happiness. We can't understand every aspect of our creator and even the mind and the heart itself, right? So we know that there are aspects that are mysterious, but there are some real things about these topics that can be known, and it is wonderful and deep to know them, and not just to know them, but to understand and apply them towards health. So how will the course feel? It will be a deep course, but also and it will be an enjoyable course. So the course won't be hard to understand. I think that if you were to just crack open medieval texts on this, they would be difficult to understand. And the reason why they are difficult to understand is because the average person in the 1200s had a very different concept of reality. And so when you read their works, it's sort of like a different world or something that they're writing about. And but once you understand how they approached and saw the world, this this their techniques become very practical. And so my goal is to take all of that sort of ancient classical knowledge about happiness and make it accessible and simple. And if you've been a student at Joyful Belly in the past, you know that that is the mission of Joyful Belly, is to create that wholesomeness in the world by making these wisdom traditions accessible to a modern audience and giving them the true and sort of deep insights that have been forgotten or lost because they were thrown away, not by any sort of process of proof um, uh, that they were unhelpful, but simply because of the fashion of the times. So each class, I'll discuss these deep topics, and then at each step, identify specific self-awareness questions and habit-forming suggestions so that you can apply the information. This course is a unique and one-of-a-kind course. It's very easy to create a dry course explaining ancient and medieval philosophy and cosmology, right? You can see that. Like, you can imagine opening up, some dust mite ridden library book in some hidden corner of Europe, and reading some things and even coming to some like logical agreement with it, right? Where you could be like, oh, I've thought about that for a few hours and the person's actually right, but then like, what does that mean for your life? Right? And you can imagine, and you see many dry courses on that. And you see many modern coaching courses that give you tips, but don't provide real answers or any kind of real satisfaction. And I think that what this course will do is sort of bring those together, that we will bring the ancient text to life and put tips in perspective of a unifying vision. Right? And the goal of that is to sort of be a master at life itself, right? To navigate life well. We can't control life, but we can't, 100% control ourselves either. But we can make great strides in that area and realize some of the promises that we've heard about spiritual growth. Right? We're told that we should expect all of these fruits from spiritual growth, and over our lifetime, we sort of slowly do grow spiritually and have greater happiness and greater confidence. But we can also stand on the shoulders of giants and on the best minds of 2,300 years and sort of move us along and and that is a great thing when we do. I'm not gonna spend too much time on some of the academic benefits at Joyful Belly College and the sort of and the level of support we provide in our courses. I've done that in other course intros, and so I just want to point you to it. You can just click here to About the College from the navigation bar, and then you can see the levels of support that we offer at Joyful Belly for our courses. And I think it's, it's important that you just look those over and just see what we offer, and our level of support and training. You can also look at some of the ways that we stand out as a leader in education. I'll just point out a few other things here. Character strengths coaching is an unregulated field in USA and Canada. That means it is not restricted, but you can't use this course to become a psychologist or a mental health counselor. You can become a mental health coach, but not a mental health counselor. And there's difference between those. You're not going to be offering psychotherapy or things like that. So we'll teach you how to have a mental health coaching practice that doesn't get you in legal hot water with psychologists. And so we are licensed to teach virtue psychology as a college by the state of North Carolina. There's our picture of our proprietary school license. I want to talk about the course. We'll have one live coaching call a week. That'll be an hour and a half. We'll record it for those who miss or can't attend. Classes start the last week of August and end the second week of June. The time commitment is 5 to 6 hours a week, and live classes will be on Mondays from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have various holiday breaks, which you can see here. The course itself, tuition is $2,199. That includes application and tuition. And there's a monthly payment plan of $183 a month to cover tuition. And here is a link on how to register in the course. Is if you go to the Joyful Belly homepage and then you click on Study Ayurveda, you can see here the course on mental health, virtue psychology, and you go to the course page, and you can see that here you can register with the monthly payment plan. If you want to register with the application and pay tuition off before the first day of class, instead of the monthly payment plan, you can register with the $600 deposit here. And when you register with the $600 deposit, you get $250 off tuition. So if you register with that deposit and pay tuition before the first day of class, you get a $250 scholarship. Also, I want to mention that until for the next week, you can go on the course page and click one of these buttons and fill out the survey and get an additional $250 scholarship off of tuition, and this link will be here for the next week. This course is useful for individuals from various walks of life, whether you are an Ayurveda health counselor from one of our other courses. You will be interacting with clients about their emotional life, but also anyone who's in a teaching position, including teaching junior high school students that need a lot of help in this area. Or middle school students, anyone who's director of a team or group or manager, uh, of a business or company or whatnot, can benefit from the emotional intelligence and interpersonal insights that they will get from this course. Anyone who's in a position of being a spiritual advisor, a person who does human resources, so that when you're interviewing people, you can kind of understand them a little bit more deeply, and even ask them more pointed questions about their character and way of doing things, with the goal that you would be able to, from the knowledge from this course, be able to mentor people and guide them, educate them, coach them, facilitate them, build more effective teams, and help build character strengths in anyone that you have frequent interaction with, including yourself, spouse, children, significant other, and colleagues at work. All right. So, and you can also look through the entire course page to see any other details about the course. And at this time, I want to thank you for taking an interest in mental health. In many ways, mental health is the greater part of healing. That yes, healing the physical body is often a very important first step, is to take the simple steps that we need to in order to take the physical burden off of our bodies, and that frees up our mind for advancement in mental health and in our spiritual journey. And so physical health is oftentimes an important fruit to pick in our journey through life. But on a very deeper level, it is difficult to heal our physical body when we are making unhealthy decisions in our life, and that when we're driven by unhealthy emotions and when we lack perspective on things. And so this course, designed to help you grow in inner peace and confidence, um, and establish a more stable path in your life, can help also free up your bodily energies for physical healing. And in the end, I think many of us have experienced that spiritual healing is maybe perhaps even the greater part of physical healing. Right. So yes, with that, I want to thank you for your interest in this area. If you're interested in looking at the deeper questions that surround mental health, this course is the first year in a 2-year series that will introduce the medieval model. In year two, in course 2, which is the second year, we will discuss these topics more with an emphasis on disease. So in this first year, the topics that we will cover emphasize a vision for mental health. And then in course 2, the second year course, is a vision of mental disorder. And that instead of the virtues in that course, we'll be focusing on the vices. We'll also go through a 6-stage process in a person's sort of uh, uh, in the stages of a person turning away from mental health, and the sort of stages of development in a mental disorder. Now, I don't mean by mental disorder a condition like Parkinson's, which is a nervous system disorder. We are really dealing with a disorder in the mind. Manovas rotas, for you Ayurveda practitioners out there. Here is the focus here, where we are going into our choices and ways of thinking, and how that can create mental disorders, as a disorder of thinking, a sort of maybe even a spiritual affliction, as well as a mental affliction. And we'll discuss the stages of spiritual affliction and mental affliction, and get more insight into that. We'll get more deeper insight into sin itself. What is sin? Sin is the Western word for pranya parad, or a crime against your own higher knowing. So often we know we shouldn't do something, but we do it anyway. It's not that we made a mistake. That's different. This is one where we knowingly choose something that we know is just not quite right or not truly going to lead us to happiness. And it happens all the time. We all do it. And we want to know why we would do that sort of incomprehensible thing where we choose something that we know is not quite right. And so where pranya parad is the root cause of all disease in the physical body, it also happens to just be the root cause of all mental disorder as well. And so in course 2, which is year 2, we'll go down the rabbit hole into what what causes harm and mental harm, and and it's sort of what is the state of a person who's sort of trapped in that, and what is the way out. And so that will be the emphasis for course 2, year 2, and exciting, and uh, and and all of this with a goal of not just personal growth, but more importantly, your ability to coach others in this. All right, so again, thank you all for your interest in this area. I'll open things up for questions now. I see some saying, this course sounds awesome, but I'm going to finish my other course in Ayurveda. Wait, you're not up for studying 2 extremely deep topics at the same time? Yeah, it's a big deal, to I think, take on the study of human nature from the body and the mind at the same time as having 4 kids and a job, and yep, that's it. Well, there's no rush, Tati. There's maybe I don't know if your name is Tatiana or Tati. I see that your handle there, Tati. Um, there's no rush to it. In fact, if you rush it, you will shortchange yourself, and you will not get the depth of the true depth and insight of the teachings. It is a slow process, and we will present it, that way in the course. We will go through each topic in a methodical way. Lydia notes, to strike the chord attached to a client's heart, the root of their passion, to initiate change and transformation. Awesome. Roxanne notes all of them. I think what she's saying there is that she maybe that uh, that you're interested in all of it, and that we can certainly spend our life observing, studying, reflecting, and many of us do. Let's see. Tina notes important area to complement more body-focused learning. Yes, absolutely. Oh, and you said, yeah, oh, yeah, your name is Tatiana. And you said that's why you're waiting. You want to get a solid foundation. Very good. Yeah, very good. Way to go. Does anybody have any questions? Tatiana also noted, where has this school been? I wish I had found this years ago. Glad to be here now. Well, great. Great. We're glad to have you now. Jacqueline notes, thanks for the great information. And you're very welcome, Jacqueline. All right, good, wonderful, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, you can also reach out. Here is my cell phone, and feel free to text me any questions that you have about the course, and I'll be happy to help, or any other issues. So Yang wrote, this course is not from an Ayurvedic perspective. It is Yang, the natural complement to Ayurveda, in that it is the Ayurveda's approach, but applied to the mind, not the body. But it doesn't use the gunas, like the hot, cold, sharp, dull, heavy, light, oily, dry, the main qualities, or the main doshas. And the simple reason of that, Yang, is that those concepts are covered in our Ayurveda courses already. And so those are, I will introduce those concepts in this course, and give people the 2,000-foot perspective on how the qualities and doshas in Ayurveda apply to the mind. And I think that will be insightful for people, especially as regards to the mind-body awareness. And in fact, mind-body awareness will be an important part of this program. We will talk about how emotions affect the physical body, simply because in order to heal our emotions, we need to also heal them in the body as well. So emotions can attack digestion, the liver. It certainly attacks the nervous system, but and the breath, for that matter, the respiratory tract, but also the musculoskeletal system in general. And we need to know how to unwind that tension and support the body while we are dealing with the emotional aspects. And so we will, throughout the course, refer to mind-body connection and awareness that's needed to sort of dovetail back and forth between the two systems. Tina, can you speak to how clients find you for this? What do you mean by find me, meaning like how I would advertise these services? Or is that what you're asking?
A little bit of both, how you market, but also just who do you tend to see? Who tends to be seeking this? I mean, I think of the yoga community in one way, but there's lots of people who could benefit if they you know, looked in the right place.
Yeah. So I think that in general, my answer is going to be very simple, similar to how you market an Ayurveda practice, which is that you have to identify a problem that clients want to solve, and then you're going to advertise that. So I think of things like, people who are seeking more fulfillment in their marriage, for example, is a particular problem, marital strife, and also visions of healthy marriage that would be a particular area of concern for clients. And so you would create a practice around that. Or a person who's trying to recover from trauma or addiction is another area. So you'll create a practice around a particular topic. And that's, so if you want to do leadership coaching for professionals, would be another way to use the course. And so your practice would be, a mental health leadership coach, or something along those lines, where you are going to help a person achieve high levels of functioning, an athlete, is another person who needs high levels of functioning and a correct way to think about things in order to perform excellently in their life. And then a spiritual advisor may be a part of a particular tradition. You can think of spiritual advisors from various different denominations or religious traditions. And if a person is in one of those, then if they're in the sort of yoga spiritual tradition, then they will offer that to yogis. Um, uh, uh, if they're in a different religious or spiritual tradition, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, all of these would apply similarly. Um, I think that the sort of Ayurvedic model and uh, and the virtue psychology model are both, they differ from the yoga traditions and the Buddhist traditions, in that it's not transcendental in the same way. There is an element of transcendentalism in Aristotelian realism and virtue psychology and Javyaguna Shastra and all that. You can find aspects of transcendentalism in there, but fundamentally, that's where I would say there is a distinction between yoga spirituality and what I would say is Ayurveda philosophy. Is really about establishing an eternal prakriti, and the other is about transcending eternal prakriti um, or nature, your own human nature. And so there is a point of departure between the two systems, but within that there's a great deal of similarity. So you can find concepts of virtue in the yoga tradition as well as every other spiritual tradition in the world. And so there's a lot of common ground as well. I don't know if that helps shed some light on that, because Tina, I think you asked about that a little bit earlier as well, about sort of like the connection to Ayurveda and perhaps yoga and these other areas, and that's how they sort of come together, and that's also where there's some distinction. Yang asks, when will we get a recording of this session? Yes, I will send out a recording. Any other questions? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Feel free to contact me with additional questions, and look forward to our future discussions. Take care.